3,000 years it has reigned as perhaps the greatest story ever told, a tale so timeless that even now it feels like it's speaking directly to us, reminding us that every generation, no matter how advanced or distracted, is still searching for the same thing: peace. The Odyssey isn't just about one man's journey home, it's about all of us, our battles with pride, our longing for purpose, and our struggle to find stillness in a world that never stops moving. Think about it. How many times have you fought a storm that no one else could see? How often have you felt close to your Ithaca only to be pulled back by the waves of doubt, desire, or distraction? The Stoics would say, this is the real journey, the one that takes place inside the mind they believed, as Epictetus once wrote, that it's not the things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. The Odyssey, in many ways, is the same lesson told through poetry, that our greatest battles are not with the monsters, but with ourselves, and maybe that's why it still matters today, because the storms haven't stopped. They've just changed form. The sirens of our time don't sing from the rocks, they sing from our screens, our egos, our endless pursuit of more. But like Odysseus, we can learn to tie ourselves to this. We can learn to tie ourselves to the mass to stay true to what matters, to listen without being led astray. That's the art of Stoicism, facing the chaos of life and remaining calm within it. If these conversations speak to something real in you, something grounded in truth, philosophy, and inner growth, consider subscribing. It's a small gesture, but it helps us reach more minds like yours, and it quietly signals that you're walking this path with intention. They say, no one crosses the same river twice, and maybe that's because the person who steps into the river the second time is no longer the same. Change doesn't always come from choice. Often it comes from struggle, from the silent battles that force us to question who we are and what we truly value. Odysseus leaves Troy as a hero, but the journey home strips him of everything he thinks he knows about power, pride, and himself. That's the paradox of every great journey. The world may celebrate our victories, but it's the storms afterward that reveal what we're really made of. When Odysseus meets the goddess Athena, she doesn't appear in a blaze of divine power or thunder. She appears as a mentor, a quiet guide disguised as a friend. There's something profound in that. The help we need rarely arrives as a miracle. It comes as guidance, as a lesson, as a voice that tells us the truth. We're not ready to hear. The Stoics understood this deeply. No one becomes wise alone. Seneca once wrote, while we teach, we learn. Wisdom isn't a possession. It's a relationship, a constant exchange between experience and understanding. We are all shaped by our mentors, whether we realize it or not. Zeno had Crates, Marcus Aurelius had Rusticus. These men didn't reach clarity by hiding from the world. They learned by being challenged, corrected, and humbled. Our mentors may not wear the face of gods, but they appear in many forms: a parent's quiet resilience, a teacher's harsh truth, a book that arrives in our life exactly when we need it. Even pain itself can be a mentor, whispering through our mistakes, learn from me so you don't have to suffer like this again. Carl Jung once said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Perhaps that's what Odysseus was really learning on his voyage home. Not how to survive the sea, but how to navigate himself. Every encounter with hardship becomes a lesson, every setback a teacher. The Stoics believed this too. They saw struggle not as punishment, but as the curriculum of life. Each trial is a lesson in disguise, teaching us patience, discipline, and endurance. When you look closely, the Odyssey isn't a story about adventure. It's a story about education of the soul, not the intellect. Odysseus doesn't return home with treasures. He returns with understanding. He's learned that wisdom doesn't grow in the comfort of certainty, but in the discomfort of humility. The same is true for us. Every failure, every loss, every painful truth we're forced to face. That's how we grow wiser. So maybe the first Stoic lesson of the Odyssey is this: wisdom isn't born from isolation, but from humility, the willingness to be taught, the humility to listen, the humility to admit we don't have it all figured out, because it's in that moment of openness that true transformation begins. Like Odysseus, we are all travelers, guided not by the promise of an easy path, but by the quiet and strength to keep learning from the sea that never stops moving. And yet even those guided by wisdom stumble when pride takes the wheel. Odysseus had outsmarted the Cyclops, escaped death, and proven his brilliance. But as he sails away, he can't resist. He shouts his name into the wind, needing the world to know it was him. That single act, born not of courage, but if ego cost him 10 more years of wandering, 10 more years of storms. Loss and longing, it wasn't fate that punished him. It was himself. Ego has a quiet way of undoing us. It whispers that our value depends on being seen, being praised, being right. Seneca called it the disease of needing applause. And Marcus Aurelius warned that the hunger for recognition is slavery to other people's minds. Think about that. How often do we win the battle, but lose the war because we can't stop proving ourselves? We get the last word in an argument but lose our peace. We chase validation only to end up exhausted. Pride promises strength, but it secretly drains it. It blinds us to what truly matters. Carl Jung once wrote, "Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves, but deep down below the surface of the average wig." Conscience, a still small voice, says to us something is out of tune. Maybe that's what happened to Odysseus. His voice carried across the sea, but the silence that followed revealed something hollow. Maybe the storm that follows him isn't divine punishment, it's a reflection, the echo of a mind out of a void. Harmony with itself, because pride doesn't just delay peace, it destroys it. It replaces wisdom with noise, clarity with chaos, and yet even the proudest hearts can be softened by reflection. After years of turmoil, Odysseus sails into calm waters and meets the lotus eaters, people who live in endless workus eaters, people who live in endless comfort. Untouched by pain or urgency, they've tasted something sweet, and it's made them forget who they are. There's no war, no struggle, no purpose, just pleasure, just drifting. And that's when Odysseus realizes comfort can be just as dangerous as chaos. The Stoics warned about this long ago. They saw comfort as the slowest form of decay. Seneca said, "No tree becomes rooted and sturdy. Unless many a wind assails it, ease may feel safe, but it quietly erodes direction. It takes away the sharpness of our mind, the discipline of our spirit. Comfort seduces us with peace, but it's an imitation, a soft illusion that keeps us from growing. True peace isn't found in the absence of struggle. It's found in the mastery of it. The Stoics believed that calm isn't what you reach after the storm. It's how you choose to sail through it. Life will test you, not because the universe is cruel, but because the soul needs friction to remember its strength. Growth happens in the resistance, not the release. So if you ever find yourself lost in comfort, remember, you're not resting, you're drifting. And drifting is the quietest form of surrender. The winds of challenge are not your enemy. They're the reminder that you're still moving, still alive, still becoming who you're meant to be. But how do we resist that drift, especially when the world is filled with sirens? The truth is, they're not as obvious as we think. They don't sing songs of destruction. They sing what you most want to hear, words that sound like comfort, but hide decay, promises that feel like rest, but lead to ruin. That's what makes them dangerous. Because the sirens of our age don't live on rocky shores. They live in our pockets, in our thoughts, in every little escape we choose instead of growth. The Stoics would have called this the voice of temptation, the internal whisper that personalizes your downfall. It's like an algorithm of the soul, one that knows exactly where you're weak. It tells you, you've earned this distraction, you deserve this indulgence just one more time. And before you realize it, you're no longer steering the ship, you're being pulled toward the rocks, slowly, softly, willingly. You're not destroyed by a monster, but by your own desires. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's the hidden trap. The illusion that the things pulling you off course are outside of you. But they're not. They're inside, disguised as comfort, as pleasure, as just taking a break. The Stoics saw this clearly. They believed their greatest challenge wasn't the world itself, but our reaction to it. We can't always control the noise, but we can control whether we listen. That's what Odysseus understood when he approached the island of the sirens. He didn't trust his willpower. He didn't pretend he was stronger than the song. Instead, he tied himself to the mast and ordered his men to plug their ears. That wasn't weakness, that was wisdom. It was the humility to accept that temptation, when heard, is hard to resist. So he designed his life to protect himself from himself. That's discipline, not fighting the urge in the moment, but structuring your world so you don't have to fight it at all. The Stoics had a word for this, prohersis. It means governing your mind before the storm arrives, building the kind of self-control that doesn't depend on moods or motivation, but on foresight. It's choosing to step away from what weakens you. Before it calls your name, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the heart of it. True strength isn't about overpowering your desires. It's about outsmarting them. It's about setting boundaries, not because you fear temptation, but because you respect yourself enough to protect your peace. Maybe that's why true freedom looks a lot like restraint. It's not about denying joy or cutting yourself off from life. It's about reclaiming control over what shapes you. Freedom to the Stoics wasn't doing whatever you wanted. Was being free from what controls you. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is tie yourself to the mast, so that when the sirens sing, you can finally hear them for what they are: illusions, trying to pull you away from your true course. Still, even the disciplined find themselves surrounded by chaos. No matter how prepared we are, no matter how strong our resolve seems, life has a way of cornering us, forcing us to choose between two kinds of pain, between Scylla and Charybdis. Odysseus had to make an impossible decision on one side, a monster that devoured anything within reach on the other. Whirlpool that swallowed entire ships. There was no perfect path, only the one that cost less. That's the quiet truth. The Stoics understood not every choice is clean. Sometimes no matter what we do, we lose something. Stoicism doesn't promise a life without pain. It promises a way to face it without losing ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind." Not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What he meant wasn't that we can control outcomes, but that we can control our response to them. We can choose how we face the inevitable storms. Odysseus knew he couldn't save he couldn't save everyone. He had to decide which loss he could live with. That's a lesson most of us resist learning. We want to believe that if we knew this truth well. After a shipwreck destroyed everything he owned, he wandered into a bookstore in Athens and found the teachings that would change his life. What he thought was the end became the beginning. Years later he would write, "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck." There's something deeply human in that, how the very thing we resist becomes the thing that saves us. Sometimes the gods take everything, so you can finally see what was yours all along. Carl Jung once said, "There is no birth of consciousness without pain. It's not until the illusion of control is shattered that we start to see clearly. When life throws you off course, when the winds shift, when the shore disappears, it's easy to curse the storm. But what if the storm isn't punishment? What if it's direction? The Stoics believed that fate isn't something to fight against, but something to work with. The winds that push you away from what you wanted may be guiding you toward what you need. Every struggle has its purpose. Every setback, every heartbreak, every delay, these are the waves that shape the soul. They strip away pride, ego, and fear, until all that's left is the essence of who you are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle isn't separate from the path. It is the path." That's what Odysseus learns. That's what Zeno discovered. It's what we're all called to remember when the world feels against us, because the storm is the way. The chaos, the loss, the uncertainty. It's not there to destroy you. It's there to reveal you, to uncover the strength, patience, and wisdom that were buried beneath comfort and certainty. The Stoics would tell us that fate doesn't test you to see if you'll break it, refines you so that you'll know you can't. And one day when you finally arrive, when the storms have quieted and the sea lies calm, you'll realize something profound. Ithaca was never a place. It was never a destination waiting beyond the horizon. It was you, the person you became along the way. Every trial, every lesson, every scar was a map leading you back to yourself. And when you reach that place of stillness, you'll understand what Odysseus, what Zeno, and what every Stoic before you discovered, that the journey was never about finding peace. It was about becoming it. If this journey spoke to you, if you see your own storms reflected in men. Odysseus, remember, the Stoics didn't tell these stories to entertain. They told them to awaken something ancient in us, something strong, something unbreakable, the courage to face ourselves, to stand in the chaos and not flinch. These lessons aren't about gods or myths. They're about you, about the quiet battles you fight every day, and the strength that's waiting for you in every challenge you'd rather avoid. So take this as your reminder. Tie yourself to your mast when the world tempts you with comfort, distraction, or doubt. Hold steady when the storms rise. Sail through them, because no storm lasts. Sail through them, because no storm lasts forever, and no sea is endless. Every wave carries a lesson, and every hardship is a step closer to who you were meant to become. And when you finally reach your Ithaca, when the noise fades, when you find yourself in moments of stillness, don't hurry. Don't rush past it as if peace is just another destination to conquer. Breathe. You've already arrived. The journey was never about finding a place, it was about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to run, as Carl Jung once said. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. The Odyssey, like Stoicism itself, is a call to awaken, to stop running from yourself and start returning to what's real, what's eternal. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal, for walking this path of growth, reflection, and self-mastery with us. If this message resonated with you, there's another video waiting on your screen that continues this journey. Continues this journey, I think. You'll find it meaningful, and until we meet again, stay grounded, stay calm, and keep safe.